Welcome to the world of Elia Learning. Today, we are going to discuss the story The Rattrap, written by the Swedish writer Selma Lagerlöf. The Rattrap is a story of a man living in less than desirable conditions who passes through two experiences that portray two completely different sides of human nature. It is a story of deep human emotions and the power of human kindness. It also lays bare the tendency of human folly. The story also successfully portrays a fundamental universal truth, that is, love and compassion can transform a human being. This is that story. There was a man who earned his living by selling rat traps. Since this was not enough to survive, he would also resort to begging and even thievery. He was a weak, emaciated man with sunken cheeks, whose clothes were always in rags. One day, he is struck by a line of thought that seemed very entertaining to him. He was struck by the idea that the entire world was nothing but a rat trap. He thought that this world was filled with baits for people to fall prey to. Just like cheese or pork in a rat trap, this world offered riches and joys, shelter and food, heat and clothing as bait. And when a person is tempted to touch this bait, the world closes in on him and everything comes to an end. This thought became a cherished pastime for him. The world as he knew it had never been kind to him, and it gave him joy to think of it in such a way. One evening, he catches sight of a little grey cottage and asks shelter for the night. An old man who lived alone in the cottage was happy to let him in. The old man gives him supper and even tobacco for the pipe. Then they play card until bedtime. The old man tells him that he once worked at the Ramsha ironworks, but since he could no longer labor, he now survived on his cow. He tells his guest that his cow would give milk every day and that he had received 30 kronors in payment last month. The old man even shows him the 30 kronors which he kept in a leather pouch hung on a nail in the window frame. Next morning, they both go their own ways. However, half an hour later, the rat trap seller gets back to the old man's cottage, breaks open a window pane, and steals the 30 kronors from the leather pouch. Once on the road, he feels uneasy about using that path and turns into the woods. Soon, he realizes that he is lost in the big and confusing forest. As hours pass by, he realizes that for all this time, he'd only been walking in the same part of the forest. He realizes too that he had fallen into the same rat trap he thought the world was. He had been fooled by the bait. He felt the forest like a prison now. It began to get dark as it was late December, and the rat trap seller sank to the ground in despair. He soon heard a voice and recognized it as one from an iron mill. He heads in that direction. It was the same Ramsha ironworks that the old man whose money he stole worked at in his prime. He opened the door, entered the forge, and stood close to the furnace. It was then that the blacksmith noticed him. However, the blacksmith doesn't react much, thinking any poor man would walk into the mill in this cold weather to warm themselves in front of the fire. The rat trap seller seeks permission to stay, and the blacksmith nods in consent. Soon thereafter, the owner of the mill comes in for inspection and finds the rat trap seller close to the furnace. He looks at him and mistakes him to be an old comrade from his old regiment. The mill owner then invites him to his house, but the rat trap seller refuses. It was Christmas Eve and he wanted his old comrade to dine with him. The rat trap seller does not agree. Half an hour later, the daughter of the mill owner arrives at the mill in a carriage. She came to persuade her father's old comrade to spend Christmas Eve with them. She even got a valet carrying a fur coat for the rat trap seller. The young lady introduces herself as Adla Manson and requests the rat trap seller to kindly accept her invitation and join them for Christmas. He finally agrees and goes along. The ironmaster had told his daughter that this man, who was their guest now, had once been the captain of his regiment. He expects that the true captain would appear once he was clean and dressed up. The mill owner is taken aback when the rat trap seller finally appears having bathed and dressed. He realizes that the man was not the captain of his regiment. When the ironmaster questions the rat trap seller, he says that it was not his fault. He had refused the invitation many times, but the mill owner and his daughter insisted he come. He was not to be blamed. When the ironmaster mentions the name of the sheriff in order to threaten the rat-trap seller, he strikes the table with his fist and says that the world was a rat trap, and if the sheriff came and put him in jail, the ironmaster too would one day fall into the same trap. The ironmaster orders the man to go away, but his daughter intervenes. She says he should stay with them for Christmas. She argues that they should not chase away a human being whom they have asked to come and promise Christmas together. Christmas passed away as it always did. The rat-trap seller did nothing but eat and sleep. In the evening, they all got up after meal, and the rat-trap seller went to each person in gratitude. When he goes to the young lady, she tells him that he would be welcomed again if he came over for Christmas next year. The next morning, the ironmaster and his daughter get up and leave for Christmas service. They did not disturb the rat-trap seller as he was asleep. At church, they learned that one of the old crofters of the ironworks had been robbed by a man who went along selling rat traps. The young lady is dejected, and the ironmaster wonders if he had stolen the silver spoons from their cupboard. Once home, the ironmaster asks the valet if the stranger was still there. The valet tells him that the stranger was gone, but had left something behind. It was a Christmas present for Miss Wilmanson. When the young lady opens the gift, she is surprised to find a rat trap, and in it 3 wrinkled 10-kroner notes. There was also a letter inside that read, "Honored and noble miss, since you have been so nice to me all day long, as if I was a captain, I want to be nice to you in return as if I was a real captain. For I do not want you to be embarrassed at this Christmas season by a thief, but you can give back the money to the old man on the roadside, who has the money pouch hanging on the window frame as bait for poor wanderers. The rat trap is a Christmas present from a rat who would have been caught in this world's rat trap if he had not been raised to captain, because in that way he got power to clear himself. Written with friendship and high regards, Captain Warren's Child." We will now go into the explanations and explore the theme and literary devices used in the chapter. The theme. The story explores a few primary themes. The power of kindness and understanding. A universal theme that runs through the author's stories is the belief that the essential goodness in a human being can be awakened through understanding and love. This is clearly demonstrated in the story when Elia Wilmanson's genuine kindness and hospitality inspire the peddler to change his ways. The trap of materialism. The text explicitly identifies the main theme as the trap of material benefit that most human beings are prone to fall into. The protagonist views the world as a giant rat trap that offers riches and joys, shelter and food, heat and clothing as bait, which ultimately traps anyone tempted by it. Redemption. The story also highlights a sub-theme regarding the human tendency to redeem oneself from dishonest ways. After being treated with dignity, the peddler seeks redemption by returning the stolen 30 kronors and leaving behind his life of petty thievery. Simile. Simile is a figure of speech that compares one thing to another by using the words like and as. Like an impenetrable prison. When the peddler is lost in the woods, he feels that the forest closed in upon him like an impenetrable prison from which he could never escape. Metaphor. Metaphor is a figure of speech that shows analogy or likeness between two things. The metaphors used in the story are a big rat trap. The entire story is built around an extended metaphor comparing the world to a rat trap. The protagonist believes that the world, with its lands and seas, its cities and villages, was nothing but a big rat trap, bait in a trap. He compares the worldly offerings of riches and joys, shelter and food, heat and clothing, to the cheese and pork used as bait in a trap. Lion's Den. The text also refers to the manor house as a lion's den when the peddler considers the danger of going there with stolen money. Irony. The peddler thinks the world is a trap for others, but he gets caught himself after stealing. Also, a poor thief turns out to be honest in the end because of love. The peddler takes joy in thinking about other people falling into the world's rat trap, yet he easily falls for the bait himself when he steals the crofter's 30 kronors. After wandering into the confusing forest, he realizes the irony of his situation. Now his own turn had come. He had let himself be fooled by a bait and had been caught.